My name is Reggie Middleton. I'm an entrepreneurial investor, blogger, and I guess a professional pontificator, that's what I like to call myself. I started a blog in 2007 in anticipation of starting a hedge fund. And instead of buying research, I decided to produce it on my own. So I have a team of research analysts, and I'm known for calling the fall of Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, the European debt debacle, Apple share collapse, Google's flight, among others. And you know, these calls and brash personalities landed me some media spots, such as Russian TV, CNBC, etc. And very, very recently, I'm late to the Bitcoin bandwagon, but very recently, I decided to take my entrepreneurial pursuits to Bitcoin and write derivatives on top of Bitcoin to do things such as crawl volatility, hedge, short, etc. And this is why I'm here.
Argument. I'm going to put on my Krugman Schiller Greenspan hat. I'm going to put on my Peter Schiff hat. And Bitcoin is just, it has no intrinsic value. Reggie.
Well, I like to start that off because I hear that often, and it's interesting. First, to define Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a digital currency that comes with its own protocol and transmission network. So Bitcoin with a lowercase b is a currency often equivocated, often compared to fiat currencies, US dollar, euro. Bitcoin with the uppercase b is a protocol and a transmission network of which only the currency can travel. So let's assume that the Bitcoin is a car, okay, and it's a car like a Chevrolet. It starts at $20,000 at the beginning of the year. At the end of the year, it's selling for $1.2 million. Compared to a Mercedes-Benz that was $130,000 at the beginning of the year. It was $130,000 at the end of the year. So everybody, the Schillers, the Krugmans, and everybody else looks at it, Bitcoin is a bubble. Of course it's a bubble because of how much it's increased. I would agree with them if we were looking at it from the perspective of a car, but that Bitcoin car went from $20,000 to $1.2 million also comes with its own roads. These roads have almost no tolls, no bridges. You could go anywhere in the city, the state, the country in that car. You could even go over the oceans, the seas, to other continents. You could go anywhere there's an internet connection. That makes that car much more valuable. And that car is faster than all the competing cars. If you define intrinsic value as utility value, it is almost impossible to say that Bitcoin does not have utility value. What is the value of the ability to sidestep the money center banks and the Federal Reserve and all the central reserve banks of the world? Significant. So it can easily be said that Bitcoin has more intrinsic or utility value than practically every other currency, commodity that could be thought of.
So Greg, no tulip bubble?
No tulip bubble, this is a difficult question to answer because different people have different definitions of intrinsic value. Some people define intrinsic value as the non-monetary utility of some commodity. But personally, I prefer to say intrinsic value is what is actually intrinsic in that thing in terms of value. And from that definition, there really is nothing that has intrinsic value. All value is subjective by the observer observing something and observing value in it from the position that they're coming from. So the value exists in our observation of it, not in the thing that we're observing. But if we use the definition of intrinsic value as a non-monetary utility, then of course Bitcoin has intrinsic value. It's very clear to anyone who looks at it that the protocol itself has tremendous value as something other than a currency. And I would even argue that that is where the real power of Bitcoin lies, is in the non-monetary utility of it, not in its use as a currency. So I would say if there's anything that has a very strong intrinsic value from that definition, it would definitely be Bitcoin relative to anything else that we would have to choose from.
Right, Peter, you're a gold bug as well. You've been recommending gold for many years. How do you see this debate, and what's your view on intrinsic value and whether it's a bubble or not?
Yeah, it's a similar argument used by against gold. I mean, Warren Buffett is famous for saying that if you gather all the gold of the world in one big square block, the only thing you can do is watch it and fondle it, and it has no intrinsic value whatsoever. But that's of course completely disregarding the interconnectivity, which brings the value in gold. There's actually also a network. It's used as a medium of exchange. And it amounts to the same argument as saying, if you pile together all the mobile phones in the world in one big mountain, then the only thing you could do is stare at it because it wouldn't have any value. I mean, that's completely discarding the interconnectivity, and that's why people buy bitcoins. It's the card that allows them to move value across the planet instantaneously for free and without anybody being able to stop them.
Right.
And leave it to contrarian badass
Now,
Reggie
at the time,
Middleton.
you were the only analyst in the world to mention that it would starve the banks.
All right, Reggie Middleton, you are building what you call a virtual Goldman Sachs on top of Bitcoin. Tell us about it.
Well, a virtual Goldman Sachs on top of the Bitcoin and protocol and network sans the extreme conflicts of interest and the excessive bonus compensation. Sort of long. So basically, I'm building a more efficient financial system.
I mean, not to be impolite, but what makes you so special that they all want to read your blog?
I can step on toes and be objective and offensively honest.